Hey, Salut Friends. Today I'm sharing my impressions of three fragrances from Aedes de Venustas, including Amnesia Rose that recently won the 2024 Art and Olfaction Awards, Café Tabac, which is also a 2023 release, and Copal Azur from 2014. Also to chat a bit about creative directors and their contribution for a fragrance. Now, if you have been in the hobby for a while, two awards usually come up either in discussions or from fragrance companies that capitalize on winning said awards on social media. One is the Fragrance Foundation Awards, which nowadays mostly recognizes big houses and mass releases. They recently celebrated their 75th anniversary. I particularly remember when Ganymede by Quantum Beach was awarded. So they have recognized many creative disruptive releases. On the contrary, sometimes it feels like a popularity contest. I mean, look at some of the winners here from 2024. Good for the winners, but some of them do not interest me personally. The second one is the Art and Olfaction Awards, which recognizes more independent fragrances since 2014, so it's only 10 years old. I got to know about it from Neela Vermeer that actually won in 2014 with their fragrance Ashoka, which has been on my wish list for the longest time. In between, I kind of stopped following them because many of the winners were from Eastern Europe or deepest United States and nowhere to smell them here in France. Last year, I was interested again because a fragrance based on rocket fuel called Eurofonte by Luca Maffei from Perfumes Cortana was awarded. I studied aerospace engineering at university, so any fragrance with an aviation or space theme, I'm interested. But again, I haven't smelled it yet as they don't distribute it in France. This year, I got to know that Amnesia Rose from this house, Aedes de Venustas, had won. I also have to clarify there was a second winner from Kajal. Again, can't find it here. So I thought let's do a quick roundup of three fragrances from this house and give my thoughts on how creative direction is looked at in today's perfumery. Of course, this goes without saying, awards are not the end-all be-all, especially when we are talking about perfumes. You may have some objective metrics like the grade of materials and whatnot, but after that, it is based on the particular set of people who are doing the evaluation on their tastes. At least that's the way I look at it. As with anything competitive, I would imagine apart from meritocracy, one has to make sure the situation works toward them and be at the right place at the right time to win. I would have liked to have seen a Hawk, which made a splash in 2023, built over 3 years along with the photographic project, with Roberto Greco and Christopher Sheldrake in their top creative capacity. An amazing, strikingly original composition, as artistic as it can get. Not sure if they applied or didn't qualify because of its limited release. I don't know the rules and the inner workings of these awards. But anyway, considering these are smaller brands, I'm sure it will help with the reach, business, but also as a recognition and motivation. I also have to say it is great that they credited creative directors here. I think it always helps when two people work together and the perfumer has someone to direct them and oversee the creation. But the title has been diluted and can be misleading in today's fragrance ecosystem, I think. I don't mean anyone in particular, by the way. Creating a brief is only the preliminary step to having a perfume made. If just that results in a great output, fantastic. Further, when you look from a consumer perspective, one side you're going to have people who are not creative, who have no interest in perfumes, take advantage of perfumers' early creations, or just their brand name as actors, singers, or influencers. They are usually not involved in the technicalities of perfumery. They probably just have the money, or just get the pre-made or refused mod bought out by someone in the Middle East, for instance, and release it with a big name perfumer and assuming the title of creative director purely for monetary reasons. On the other side, you have people like Serge Lutens or Frederic Malle, who not only have a clear creative vision, but also speak the perfumer's language. Like there are manuscripts messages of Frederic Malle, who is confident enough in his understanding of the technical side of perfumery to actually instruct master perfumers like Sheldrake, Ropillon, Roussel or Elena to add a specific material in this proportion to increase diffusion, etc. with no inhibitions. Many senior perfumers, especially at big corporations, themselves do not see the inside of a lab anymore, and deservedly so. They have 20-30 people working under them. All they do is write formulas, evaluate and iterate, So what makes a good perfume creative director is still an open question. Is it more appropriate to call them editors, technicians, evaluators, sponsors, or supervisors, depending on the level of inputs? We'll probably never be able to have a single answer to this question because of the nature of the business and the perfume industry itself. I think it requires more of a nuanced discussion. With all that out of the way, let's come back to the fragrances. Quickly on the house of Aedes de Venustas, they are a niche fragrance outlet based out of New York, established in 95. Apart from selling other brands, they also do their own set of creations. This house got on my map mainly because of Bertrand Duchefort, as he has done quite a few for them, and a fragrance called Iris Nazarena, which was really acclaimed some years ago as being one of the best iris fragrances. I think it was also awarded 5 stars in Perfumes The Guide. A woody, spicy, cool iris with some leather in the background, like an early morning with the cold settling down. I'm also reminded of a woman's clean hair because of the texture. I'll probably do a dedicated review on it sometime in the future. Let's look at the winner first, Amnesia Rose by Luca Maffei, who I mainly know from La Tesa by Masque Milano and Bois Mystique from Houbigant. Creatively directed by Carl Bradel, one of the founders. This is a rose patchouli combo with an ambery background. Right after I sprayed it, I was reminded of 2 fragrances, Portrait of a Lady and Hippie Rose from Healy. Notably Portrait. They are not identical but share a lot of notes, so there are similarities. The Amnesia Rose itself is a lavender rose variety, which has more of an antique, faded, vintage-esque impression as opposed to red, burgundy or pink roses. This starts off spicy, sharp, slightly fruity, lemony, with some minty, bitter undertones, almost like red wine. I gotta say, it smells like a red rose to me in the opening, which fades and goes more pale and purple with time. Here they claim Bulgarian rose and Moroccan rose, so it is more fresh and spicy than say Turkish rose, which is more condensed. Reminded me a bit of Taif Rose by the same perfumer from Perry Monte Carlo and La Fille Tour de Fer from Serge Lutens. There's gotta be some geranium in here as well. The patchouli is also right there with the rose. It is also more of a leafy herbal patchouli rather than dank or earthy. There is some saffron coming through as well, resinous touches with some incense in the shadows. I mean really in the background, because it's rather faint. Like I said, it is predominantly a rose patchouli fragrance. Cypriol oil giving that sort of fluidity to it, a distant echo of oud and labdanum. These resinous facets do take it to the Middle Eastern, Oriental, spicy, woody amber direction. What stands out to me here is the texture. In spite of all these notes, it is still soft, not overbearing at all. They also mention clear wood, which brings some jasmine-like earthy facets, and Bushman candle, which is a softer, waxy resinoid that gives this gentle amber tone. It is really nice, very well made, has this silky, soft texture. To compare with Portrait, which is more dramatic, baroque, bold, really dense, like an energy source, really a statement maker, that one. This is more soft and subtle, like Portrait of a Lady stepped off the opera at the theatre and went to the next door ball, dancing for some smooth waltz. That is how it comes across. So completely different styles. And yes, it is very good, but is it original or distinctive? Not particularly. This has been done before and we'll see it again. Of course, I can give my opinion here on it being the award winner without smelling the other finalists. Overall, as a rose patchouli fragrance, this is a good one. Next, let's see Copal Azur by Bertrand Duchefort. This is a salty marine incense fragrance inspired by copal, which is a resin with similar applications to incense and goes back to Mayans and Aztecs. This is supposed to create the idea of a Mayan citadel by the beach in Tulum, Mexico. What I get here is this salty, sweet, spicy, resinous, as well as medicinal camphoraceous incense. Now, I don't mean this as an insult to the fragrance, but I was reminded of Vicks VapoRub. Everything is jumping at you at once. There is some cardamom bringing that green mentholated spiciness. Apparently, incense is supposed to be the connecting thread with this house. So I think all releases have incense in some form. Nutty Tonka brings in some sweetness, some scratchy patchouli, rocky mineralic myrrh. There's got to be some aldehydes in here too. They claim ozonic accord. I was reminded of this blue series from Comme des Garçons, where they did something similar with blue incense. Speaking of which, incense is the central player. Apparently 30% of the formulation used at the top, heart and the base. They could not use copal as it is banned, so they had to compensate for it with frankincense. It's like this kinetic morphing between salt deposits on a beach rock and crystalline camphoraceous mineralic incense. Does not change much, but a compelling incense scent. I get that azure blue image, collision of warmth and coolness. Reminded me of these churches by the sea built for sailors, traders, travelers, etc. in the earlier days. Does not smell ancient or overtly spiritual. In fact, I find it very modern. This could serve as an incense for summer if you like to go against the grain. Third, let's see Café Tabac, also by Duchefort, inspired by the said club from 90s New York, which a lot of celebrities used to frequent. No surprise, it is a sophisticated club tobacco fragrance. A lot of things are going on here. There is this slightly boozy, whiskey-like opening. This boozy smell and the idea of a club reminded me of another Duchefort creation called Les Bains Douche, which is also based on an elite club in Paris. The tobacco is the central note. It is almost like you're smelling this tobacco through different filters. The dryness, woodiness, dampness, sweetness, spiciness, smokiness, and the floral qualities all are expressed in some form using a ton of other notes. I get the honeyed dates and booziness in the opening, rather sweet as well. After that, it is this birch tar and the cardamom coming through. So it goes from syrupy sweet to dry dusty amber in the dry down. The cigar kind of rich brown tobacco is always the focus. There is tonka bean, tolu, cade oil and labdanum, which keeps things interesting with the balsamic facets and does not allow the scent to go in the amber woody direction, which is what many sweet tobacco fragrances do. So it is a like for me. I can imagine euphoric sensation at a club with this. Very colorful images as well. Very well constructed. All three are in fact. Overall, I've enjoyed testing these three. I don't see anything grabbing me right away to get a full bottle because of the overlaps some of these have with fragrances I already own. I try to avoid redundancy in my collection. In any case, I'll keep revisiting them, test those I haven't yet. Definitely one of the better niche houses out there, an American company doing modern yet traditional French perfumery. Worth checking out in my opinion. So there you have it, my roundup of 3 fragrances from Aedes de Venustas. Thanks for watching, take care and ciao.